Welcome to Ghost Carrier, our 15-part alternative history audio series about a world where America lost the Pacific War. This is the tale of a doomed aircraft carrier and its crew, stranded in the vast Pacific by a supernatural twist of fate. This story has been adapted from my book, Ghost Carrier. You can purchase the full version in paperback, Kindle, or audiobook from the links in this episode's description. I'm Robert Child, and episode 3 will begin in a moment. Hey guys, I have some great news. I'm thrilled to invite you to explore my newly launched online store, where all my books and audiobooks are now conveniently available in one place. And guess what? By purchasing directly from my store, you'll save money compared to those big-name retailers. It's a win-win. I can't wait for you to check out the collection and perhaps discover new favorites. Head over to the link in this episode's description and dive into a world of captivating stories and incredible savings. Your next great read is just a click away. Visit my online store now and enjoy the best deals on all my books and audiobooks.
Ghost Carrier, They Died to Fight Another Day. Written by Robert Child. Narrated by Kirk Winkler. Macon Island, Central Pacific, 23 November 1943. Task Force 52 was just coming off intensive aerial bombardment of the atoll of Tarawa 3 days earlier. After brutal fighting, American soldiers had successfully captured the Gilbert Islands, and now the battle group was returning to normal cruising maneuvers. At sundown on 23 November, the ships of the now precisely named Task Group 52.13 had maneuvered into night cruising disposition, forming a circular screen around the 3 escort carriers. Liscum Bay was in the middle as guide for the surrounding ships. The battleships New Mexico and Mississippi, the cruiser Baltimore on the left flank, and carriers Coral Sea and Corregidor on the right flank were in the first circle surrounding Liscum Bay. The outer circle was formed by the destroyers Hull, Franks, Hughes, Maury, and Hull. Liscum had ordered up large quantities of frozen turkey at Pearl, and the ship's mess was busy preparing the Thanksgiving feast to be served in just 2 days. At 22:30 hours, Joe Rusk lay awake in A1 bunk on crew berth level 5, deep within the bowels of the Liscum. The coming Thanksgiving holiday had returned his thoughts to home as he held a flashlight illuminating the picture Franny had sent of their new son, little Frankie. He was a tiny thing, but Joe felt an instant connection. He imagined watching him grow up, teaching him how to play ball, protecting him and helping him become a man. Joe allowed himself to dream. Even he, a mere seaman first class, knew the tone of war with Japan had swung. America was now finally on the offensive in the Pacific, and the strategy seemed to be working. He could feel the end of the war coming as he peered down again at the future. His boy. His boy. Joe liked the sound of that as he stowed the picture away on the small aluminum shelf above his bunk. He sighed and turned over to sleep. 05:05 hours. Joe had been up 10 minutes. Reveille had sounded 20 minutes earlier. He was just finishing dressing when General Quarters sounded. General Quarters, General Quarters, this is not a drill. All hands, man your battle stations. The urgent voice echoed down the ship's corridors. Men leaped from their bunks and began pulling on shirts and dungarees. Joe was already scrambling up the ladder from deck 5. He was headed 2 levels up and back toward the hangar deck where he served as a parachute rigger. His body pumped with adrenaline. 05:13 hours. The passageways were crowded as sailors raced in every direction, each assigned to a specific task. Joe was nearly to the hatch of the hangar deck when he was thrown backwards by a violent concussive force. A tremendous blast had erupted from several decks below toward the bow of the ship. Unhurt, Joe picked himself up as emergency lights illuminated the passageways. He heard the roar of multiple explosions below him. Jesus Christ, the Bombay! General quarters no longer sounded. It was replaced by men's screams. Joe turned and moved toward the front of the ship, but the passage was blocked. Hundreds of men were yelling, "We're going down! We're going down!" Joe's only thought, shared by hundreds of other sailors, was to get topside, but he could barely move. He remembered an air shaft near where he was trapped. He turned back and worked his way in that direction. Then he heard men shrieking in pain as he hit a wall of intense heat. He saw a man climbing a steel ladder that was glowing hot. He saw others following, shoeless, and as their bare feet hit the steps, they cried out in agony. As Joe looked at their hands, a sickening smell registered, burning flesh. Searing heat from the rails burned men's fingers as if they were gripping a red-hot charcoal grill. The sailors didn't stop, though. They continued to climb and scream. He had to find another way out. He turned back toward the front of the ship. The way was practically clear until he hit a thick wall of oily, acrid, pitch-black smoke. He heard men ahead of him crying out, "We're gonna die! We're all gonna die!" And he knew they were right. The men on the surrounding task force ships could not believe the horror that was unfolding before their eyes as they crowded topside rails. 1,500 yards away from the Liscum, sailors on the New Mexico were sent scattering as oil particles, burning pieces of the deck, molten metal, and bits of clothing and human flesh showered their deck. The flames from Liscum Bay were so intense they lit up the sea around the task group. They heard later that the flames were seen by the battleship Pennsylvania 16 miles away near Macon Atoll. Men stared in disbelief. There was nothing they could do. Sailors from the destroyer Maury, just 5,000 yards astern, could see men jumping overboard, many right into flaming oil slicks floating on the ocean's surface. Suddenly they saw the Liscum list down to stern as the bow rose out of the water, burning furiously, sending sparks and flaming debris skyward. Then they heard Liscum's death gurgle. The ship went down quietly, with only a loud hissing sound as hot iron hit the cooler sea. A cloud of steam obliterated the view as the Liscum sank beneath Pacific waves. It was over in little more than 20 horrifying minutes. "She's gone!" someone shouted. "She's gone!" Some men were crying, slowly turning away. Some stood frozen, staring at where the ship had been. Others hugged each other. Hundreds of crewmen had friends on the Liscum Bay, and they had just watched their buddies die. There were scattered small oil slicks still burning. There were a few life rafts out picking up pale, shivering survivors, hauling them in from the 45-degree water. One sailor, aerographer John Sidey, was standing on the Maury just 5,000 yards astern. He squinted at the horizon. It was just past 0530 hours, and the dim November sun was brightening the skies in the east. Something faint, however, seemed to be obscuring the horizon line. It was a shape, a translucent shape of something Sidey could not quite make out. He shook his head, closed his eyes, then opened them again, staring hard. Movement he caught from the corner of his eye caused him to shift his gaze. He caught sight of other men down to his right at the edge of the deck, pointing in the direction of the horizon and waving other men over. Sailors crowded the rails and appeared to be looking at something. Sidey whipped his eyes back to the horizon. There was no mistaking it this time. Floating on the horizon was the outline of a ship, a Casablanca-class American aircraft carrier, the Liscum Bay.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ghost Carrier, our 15-part alternative history series. Join us next time for another installment. This story has been adapted from my book, Ghost Carrier. You can purchase the full version in paperback, Kindle, or audiobook from the links in this episode's description. And if you like what you hear, leave a review or a rating, or just click the follow button. I'm Robert Child, and this has been Ghost Carrier, only on Point of the Spear.
Music licensed from audioblocks.com. Point of the Spear is produced by RSC Media Group.